Welcome to the official Bathtub Refinishing podcast, powered by BathTubGuys Refinishing. This is where we discuss the refinishing industry, interview owners and operators, and give tips to customers and entrepreneurs. Now, here's your host, Daniel Montalvo.
Hello, everybody. We're back with Casey from Tub Teks. Hello.
Hey.
So we were talking about commercial and your multi-family properties that you have over there, and you said you had about 50. How do you, like, so you mentioned how you manage that, but let's go a little bit deeper into, like, what happens when a person calls you and is like, hey, there's go backs that we need to go and repair or something like that, and your schedule's already packed or something. How do you handle stuff like that in that situation?
I mean, for the most part, our customers are, understanding. We build a relationship with them, so it's very rare that they're calling back screaming at us. I mean, I think most of the customers understand that, we work with our hands and things can go wrong. We really pride ourselves on very few callbacks, but it happens. I mean, there's just no way around it. Things happen. We work in, we're painting in it's a contaminated space. We're painting around water. I mean, things can happen, a drip, someone else working in there, or, something happened on our end, a paint failure. But I mean, usually, we try to keep a pretty good relationship with the managers. And then we just schedule a time that we can come back out, and by that time it's usually occupied. Somebody's probably moved in. Very, very rarely do we have incidents where a tub peeled up before they moved in. Okay. And then I would prefer to repair it. We can usually repair our own work without much of a problem if it's a run or some fish eyes or something that we need to, something happened, we have to repair it, rather than fully refinish the tub. We offer a 3-year warranty. It's a limited warranty. Again, in an apartment, multiple people are using these tubs. They see a lot of abuse. So, I mean, just like you were saying earlier with Puerto Rico, I mean, a lot of times we have to explain, like, listen, this tub was destroyed by the resident, and I think as long as you're honest and fair with them, if we have guys on site and someone says, hey, this tub got a little scratched up, if we're already on site and we're having, a good day, or we work there a lot, we'll take care of it. I mean, we will stand behind our work, and
sure.
But that happens a lot. I mean, some people abuse it. Some people are constantly saying, oh, I need another tub done. It was one you did, so it's a warranty. And it's like, well, that's not really the case either.
I get that a lot. I get that a lot.
Yeah.
From sometimes it even happens when we do work for a realtor and they'll sell the house and the person's like, oh, well, the realtor left me this warranty. I'm like, did you get it transferred? I don't know what, and then they're like, well, I don't even have a copy of the warranty. It's like, well, then you don't know how to care for it either. So I could assume that you voided it. I get that too sometimes. So I could definitely relate to that.
Yeah, we've had that from home warranties as well with real estate agents. And, a lot of the residential work that we do is through real estate agents or contractors and that type of thing. The other thing that we do is we get in with a lot of companies that are building apartment complexes. Yeah. And they'll send us a list of 30 tubs that they chipped. So then we'll go in and, maybe 2 or 3 days, and then we'll just go through and fix a bunch of chips. And, that happens maybe once a month. We'll get something like that. And I wish we had more of that. I love that type of work. I mean, a lot of times that's you're on a job site, hard helmet type of thing, and you're, just going through and fixing tons of chips and trying to make them look perfect because there's going to be an inspection and they're going to come through and take a look at it. And
can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
So when you guys are doing those chips, what do you do to avoid that that super shiny gleam on the area you touched up?
So we use those pre-val kits a lot. Okay. So we take a pre-mixed material And then, are you familiar with the small pre valves?
I've heard of it, but I haven't used it now.
Yeah, they're just mini like portable CO2 sprayers.
Okay.
Certain times we're brushing it on, but on porcelain tubs we use Napco material.
Okay.
I don't think that's what you guys are using. I know I heard you discuss your material in the past,
Yeah,
but
we use Midwest.
okay, yeah. I mean, I really, we blend that stuff in really good. Like it's those pre-valves really allow you to kind of airbrush it. I mean, it's not a great pattern. It's not like the pattern you're getting from your gun, but and in certain areas of the tub, man, they just disappear. Obviously there's areas that are like you walk in, you're like, oh, this one's going to be tough, like right where your eyes drawn to. But for the most part, like, we're just hitting it with a little clear primer, Bondo, then a little clear primer. That way we know we're going to get bonded, and then just a little touch up sometimes with an artist brush, but for the most part we're just using like a pre-mixed material through a pre-valve sprayer.
And you have like a flat rate for those?
Yeah, they're about $90.
That's not bad.
No, they usually, if it takes an hour, then you're wasting time. So it's really not even an hour.
Now, you had mentioned the material. I was going to ask you what you use. You use Napco.
Yep.
And have you tested multiple materials? What made you guys land with them?
Okay, so probably about 20 years ago, Permaceram, which was our company, was a franchise. They were our supplier. So that was a franchise my dad purchased, and then they were the material supplier. So we used Permaceram material. They went out of business. Like, you know what? I don't know if they purchased that material and put their logo on it, or if they produced the chemicals. This was when I was first getting started. But right around when I first started, they went out of business. So we then had to search around, and yeah, we tried a couple other products, but the Napco stuff worked great. I love it. I mean, I think it's great. I know it's a little expensive, and the people over there.
Yeah, something happened with your camera there.
Yeah, sorry, I got a phone call there. So
no problem. There you go.
All right. Yeah, the people at Napco are great. I have a great relationship with them. They're located outside of Chicago, I believe, and so my relationship is only over the phone. But it's always been, I've always had great customer service, and we stuck with them. So now, no, I haven't really tried another product in a long time.
Is it a 1-to-1 mix or a 2-to-1?
2-to-1, yep. And then it's reduced with lacquer. I'm sure just similar to what you're doing, probably guess.
Yeah.
So.
And the primer, are they one of those ones that are using bonding agents over like resin primer?
Yep. Yeah. So it's just like we're wiping it on. When I started, it was all like epoxy primer. So we were mixing like a gray primer, and then, I've always been told like that's not really, for porcelain or glass. It's more for metal. And although I loved spraying, like I felt like you could get a good coat of that gray primer on and sand right to it if you had to. And we switched over to that. Their product's called Gorilla Grip. It's it's like a glue. You're just wiping it on. It's clear, and then you're spraying over it. You have to apply it evenly and cover the entire tub. That's for sure, or you're going to have failures. Which is, I've heard some companies they use like a black light on it, and you can see where you've missed spots. We don't do that. I've had a ton of success, so I'm pretty confident that we're doing it correctly.
Yeah, I'm asking a lot of people because we still use epoxy primer, but the reason is that's just what we've always used. So like I've been trying new stuff. I had somebody who we were thinking about hiring, but turned out not to work out. But anyway, he did a demo for us, and he used top coat material, the manufacturer top coat.
So that's one of the few that I have tried out.
Yeah. So they have this thing called Crosslink 3, which is like it's a wipe on primer.
Yeah.
And out of curiosity, I was like, I keep hearing about this stuff, so I'm gonna like do a little adhesion test just by myself. And I grabbed the straight edge blade and I tried to I tried to scratch it and it wasn't scratching it. Like, it was unbelievable because I've done the same thing with, the old standard, which is still the way we do it, but I'm probably going to change it sometime soon. I just need to get the guys like ready to train with it because I want them to practice. But regardless, like etch, and then, you do the adhesion promoter or the primer, epoxy primer, like you mentioned, and then top coat it, which is what we do. But when I did the adhesion test versus a tub that I had that, the one that I was telling you about versus one of the ones that was done the old way, I mean, the other one just like scratched up like nothing. The one with the adhesion promoter with the crosslink, like that shit was really hard to scratch. I was actually having to physically chip the tub, like put the blade in at an angle to even get it to peel, and it was because it was actually chipping the fiberglass. So like, it's very insane. Like that stuff. I mean, just by looking at it, I can tell there is something to that. So that's why I'm asking a lot of people. A lot of people have switched to that. Top Coat, which is the largest manufacturer, they stopped doing epoxy primer completely, unless you're doing multi-spec.
Yeah. So, we switched over, at least 10 years ago, and it's faster too. I mean, it cuts down a lot of time when you're just wiping it on, as opposed to mixing up, coats and spraying and maybe cleaning your gun in between coats or having a separate gun. And I mean, it cuts down on time for sure,
Do you just apply it with like a terry towel or a blue towel? What do you use?
Yeah, it's a white towel. And Napco supplies them when you buy the primer. It's kind of just like a heavy, paper towel. It's a little heavier than that because it absorbs the material, and then you can kind of wipe it on, and and it dries quick. There's really very little downtime in between your application of the primer and your first coat. So, but you have to get used to it. Like, the epoxy primers that we always used were gray, and like spraying that first coat over a gray is great. I loved it. It's, you can see your pattern, everything, you can sometimes tack it down right away. But, again, like you get used to it, it's muscle memory. You're comfortable getting in there and spraying and knowing you got that good first coat and ready for that second heavier coat. So,
and
but
do you guys,
it cuts down time for sure.
Do you guys acid etch, or do you use like a mild, like industrial cleaner kind of a thing?
Okay, so we acid etch, but it's a product that Napco supplies. It's a really mild etch. It's not like, we used to use like a real heavy, like the black etch, where we, covered the entire tub and like, you could see it like smoking, it's just so strong, and it really etched those tubs. I mean, and we would let it cure, and then you'd, wash it off. Now we're using, it's a much lighter etch. It's still an etch, but it's a milder, and it's like, but we have to prep the tub for the etch. Like, you can't just pour it all over, like, soap scum or anything like that. You got to remove all the soap scum and contaminant from the tub. That way, you're etching all the surface. I see that all the time. Like, people just, they go right over soap scum, and it's like, oh my goodness. Like,
I think it's being used to the other stuff. Like so again, that's just another thing. That's why I love like talking to people who do this, because like I've been thinking about switching. And so like, we use the 35% acid etch, which is fucking insane. But when there's soap scum, I mean, it'll eat it. Like,
yeah.
So you can put it on that.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe it's people being used to that. They hear like, oh, this is etch, and then they do that. But it is more prone to failure unless it's really concentrated stuff like the one that I was just telling you about.
Yeah, we scrape all. We really just scrape them and clean them. Like, we don't. That the acid is not made. It has to be applied dry, so we don't go too crazy with like wetting the tub or anything like that. And then obviously removing silicone. Silicone's always like the biggest pain in the neck for sure, and making sure you have all that silicone cut out, and then you really don't even want any of it like falling onto the tub. I mean, silicone's killer, for fish eyes and separation. So, and we've tried some of those like. They make some products that remove silicone, but it's like, you need like it's the chemicals just intense, and it's like, I'd rather just do it by hand, scrape it, there's no odor, and but the silicone's a challenge sometimes, and especially the way certain people apply it that you have to remove. It's crazy.
I have a couple of questions about your crew. So how many people do you have right now working for you, and are they all trained in-house? How do you guys handle that?
So right now we currently have 6 guys. So my dad and I are my dad's still involved in the business, and he does a lot of the accounts receivable, and we have to collect POs from customers so that we can bill them with POs, and so he handles a lot of that. I tend to handle more scheduling and dealing with customers, and then being in the shop with the guys. And so most of my guys, my current crew, most of our guys have been with us 7, 8, almost 10 years. We trained those guys all in-house. And we have a couple newer guys, but they're going on 2 years. And then we have one real new guy, but he's a young kid and he's learning. But I like our crew is phenomenal, man. We're like a family. We're really tight. I work hard on employee retention. I try to do everything I can. You get paid days off, paid holidays. The pay scale's really, pretty good. Certainly competitive or better than that. And, I've hired guys in the past. Like I've had tons of employees. I've had a lot of people come and go. And I've hired guys that, have done it before or been in the industry. And like, some of them guys were awesome, and they had to leave for whatever personal reasons and all. And like, I had a guy years ago that, he was doing this in the Midwest, moved out here, found out about us, called, and like, I learned a ton of stuff from this guy. He had all kinds of little tricks and that type of thing. And then I've had guys that said they've done this forever, and it looked like they never even seen a spray gun before. So but for us, like, we've been doing it a long time. We have a lot of confidence with our system. I'm always open to learn, but our system works. I believe in it, so I like teaching the guys our system, and now those guys that we taught are teaching the new guys that we bring in. We could really use 2 new guys. I'd say we could, but I like to get guys that start doing prep work, carrying tools, taping things out, learning how to do it, and doing it really well. And then if you tape a tub perfectly, well, then I know you're gonna do good on that next step. Like if you come in there and you're sloppy and your tools are laying around, our stuff is like, it's finish work. It has to be perfect. Like you kind of have to be a neat freak in there, and like, you can see right away which people get it, and like, so I love training them, like, and then like that gives them incentive to stay. Like you're going to get paid more if you can start spraying, and if you can be on site without me having to come there and get keys to go into a unit or interact with a professional on site or someone in an office, like, that's what I need. Like I need guys that, want to go out there, and that's what I have. I'm lucky. I have a great crew who take a lot of pride in their work, and we get each other's back all the time. So, I'm lucky with that, I guess. And we've worked hard to create an atmosphere, that is like, we've always, like, even when it was just me and my dad and like a helper, it was like, we always try to like view it like we're a much bigger company than we are. Cause I know that, the way big corporate companies work, they can keep people forever, and they want to stay with that company or help that company grow. And so like, we've always paid salary rather than like per job or hourly. And like, cause I always felt like, okay, if I can pay this, if I'm paying this guy hourly, but I can only provide 20 hours of work, well, why is he's not going to stay with me? Like he's going to go somewhere where he can get a 40 hour work week. So yeah, once you're spraying, we put you on salary, and then it's on me to make sure we have a flow of work that's going to, pay you. And then, a lot of times we have OT on weekends for hourly guys, so they can pick up time and a half. And so that's kind of how our crew works. And I never was big on like, all right, you got to call back, you got to go out there and fix it, and it's on your time. Like I never took that approach either. It was always like, all right, I'm in that area, I'll stop by and take care of it. If I see something that's like crazy and I got to give you a call and we got to talk about it, okay, that's fine. But listen, I've been doing this a long time, and spraying. I don't spray as much now, but I sprayed for a long time, and like I've had plenty of situations where like things didn't go right, or I had a callback, or like I had a bunch of fish eyes, and I'm like, oh my god, and like all it really takes is like communication with the customer and say, hey, I got a problem, and like I can fix it. Like I gotta wait till tomorrow.
See, I'm kind of the same mindset. I only get upset when it's like ABC stuff that they should have done. Sometimes they have a bad day, and the thing that always gets me is when there's overspray on something. Oh my god, that is like a pet peeve of mine. It's like that's like the customer's number one worry, and there you go delivering that, and then I make them go back and either like you try to clean it or it's going to come out of your pay. Now for repairs, again, there's so many variables, like you said. You know, we're not in a controlled environment. This is something that's done by hand, obviously, and it is, you know, a meticulous job. You know, and especially in certain scenarios, like if the tub and tile gap had a grout, a caulk line this big with silicone, and you cut all that stuff out, and now you're gonna have silicone all over the tub, and you know you can get fish eyes, little things like that can happen for sure. And I never blame one guy for the situation, and I'm of the same mindset. Like, we are a company, we are a team, so you pick up there when it's needed, and I need him there, so that's how that works. And like I get the guys complaining less about like. Also, it kind of helps boost their self-esteem. I always let them know this job had a callback. Yeah, he's gonna go fix it, but it also, you know, kind of helps them like, okay, I'll look for that going forward. And if also it's the optics are kind of good, because if you send if a guy screws up and you send the same guy, the customer's like, oh, this guy's gonna screw up again. Like they always come at it from that angle. You know what I mean? If you send somebody else, it looks like, okay, they really want to correct the problem. They send somebody else, and you know they're gonna handle it.
Yeah, like you'd want to be made aware if you had something went wrong on your work. So it's the same, you know, it's the same respect. Like if I messed the tub up, I'd want somebody to say, hey man, just letting you know that last tub, you know, you had a little separation at the drain. And maybe you're like, yeah, well the drain was a nightmare that I spent an hour bondoing, you know, or what have you. But yeah, as long as I think you're honest with everyone, and especially the customer, like people are usually pretty patient and they understand things go wrong, you know, and as long as you can limit that though, I mean, it can't go wrong every day, that's for sure, you know? Yeah. And then you can have a problem.
Yeah, and it's good. Like, I really respect the fact that you are coming at it from like, because here's the thing that I hear from a lot of refinishing companies. It's hard to find good people. Yes, everybody knows. That's not, honestly, the hard part is keeping them. And you can never expect anybody to give a fuck as much as you unless they're getting paid well and treated well. If you treat your employees like shit and only give them 3 days of work a week, they're never going to stay. Like, that's like, it's such a like elementary mindset that a lot of business owners have. Like, will you like be okay just working 2 days a week and, you know, getting paid poorly? No. Like, you're in it to make money. They're working for you to make money. A lot of the times, companies, especially when you know it's owner operated and it's the founder and everything, it's you personally. You want to make as much money as possible because you see the numbers and you see like, dang, dude, if I could have done this, and this, I could have made an extra couple bucks. But at the end of the day, your employees are an investment. That you're investing in them to make you more money later. If you treat them poorly, the next project you have, they're not going to want to work, or they're going to leave and go to somewhere else.
No, exactly. And they, you know, you're teaching them a trade, and they need to then own that trade and take pride in it. And that's when you have that type, you know, that real growth. And once that person is, you know, a tradesman, they have to be paid appropriately for that trade, you know, and
they'll feel better. They'll feel better. Like, that's the thing that people don't understand. Like, they're going to feel better working with you when they can go get the house that they wanted or the apartment that they wanted, when they can go buy a car, when they can be like, And then what a lot of people don't understand is that like what you're creating is also a semi-reliance on you. Like now they're thinking, I need this job. I'm going to do better. I'm going to do my best, give it 110% because I want to maintain what this has given me. And that's,
you have a huge responsibility when you have one employee. You're taking on a huge responsibility. I mean, and you have to do your best as a business person to supply the amount of work, and then that's why you get compensated as well. So I know it's it can be stressful, and it can be great, and that's what I love about small business and being self-employed.
Yeah. So what are some things about the refinishing industry that, like, maybe things you've seen or stuff like that you don't really like, the direction it's heading or something like that? Is there anything that kind of is like a pet peeve? Maybe even like what you mentioned earlier about the kind of advertising people do and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I really like the mass-produced stuff that I see up here in the apartment industry. It drives me crazy. These companies have a lot of customers because they like, or maybe they supply, restoration. I see it a lot with these restoration companies. They do like fire and water restoration and property damage. And then, they go, well, hey, look at these guys are making money painting these tubs. So we'll buy a compressor and a vent and let's go to work. And they're already in. So like, that's the tough part with the apartment properties now. If you're a small company or you're just getting started out, like the insurance coverages are insane. So there's a barrier right there that for a small mom and pop to get in, it's really tough because the insurance. Oh,
give me 1 second. Let me fix that.
All right.
So continue on with what.
Yeah. So they like, so then they like I was saying that there's really a barrier, a roadblock for a lot of smaller mom and pops to get into the multifamily because the insurance coverages are so high. Whether it's, the liability is $5 million, your vehicle is $1 million, and then you have to pay a third party just to submit the insurances. And if you're working at dozens of apartment complexes, this can be thousands of dollars. So it's tough. Like we did it over a long period of time. And again, we hooked up with a large wholesaler that helped us get our foot in the door. And so just to get started, it's tough to get in. So the companies that are already in, like these large restoration companies that are already in with these customers, they start offering it, and people go, "Oh yeah, let's give it a try." They're super cheap,
and again,
they're not producing the type of work that we produce, or any of us, like quote unquote like trained refinishers are really producing, and sometimes that opens up doors for us. And, once they mess up enough stuff, they got to call somebody. But again, we've been in this industry for a while, the multifamily. But I know it's hard for a small company to just go, all right, I got to shell out, thousands for the insurances coverages to even give them a price.
I think also like what I was talking about earlier, it's also partly education or lack thereof. Like, a lot of companies don't even recognize like refinishing as its own trade. So the insurance requirements a lot of the times are based off of like general renovation work and stuff like that, where there could be millions of dollars worth of damage, where like the worst you can do as a refinisher is get overspray on stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, part of it is because there's not enough education on the industry. A lot of people don't even know that this is a thing that can be done. So I think that's
right.
Part of it too. When you look up even like apps that are made for contractors like Jobber, and you look at like categories, they have everything under the sun. They don't have one for bathtub refinishing.
Yeah, right. No, I know. It's a niche. I mean, it's been and continues to be. And it really, again, I mentioned earlier, like it's like your podcast is unique. I mean, there's not a lot of people to talk about spraying tubs with other than my own crew, and then my dad. There's not like there's no trade shows for us. There's no real community. I didn't really start seeing a lot of guys until I joined Instagram a few years ago, and I started following a few, and now But now I don't even, I follow a lot of the same ones you follow. I've scrolled through your follows and, but, now I'm not even getting a lot of them popping up. So like, maybe
They
we're
come and
following them
go.
all.
They come and go. It's like what we were talking about in the beginning. I mean, a lot of these people, they start it, they do it as a side thing, or they just don't really give a fuck that much. And then there's the people who are just always there, Like there's a couple people you always see posting, and always,
Yep.
grinding and advertising and stuff like that. How old is your dad?
My dad's 66.
My dad's 69. He just turned 69.
Okay.
So about the same age range. That's cool, man. My dad started doing this in Massachusetts like years and years ago. And back then, like they didn't, they had glorified wall paint. That's how they would refinish them. I mean, that was the only thing that existed when he started. They would give them like a 1 week warranty, but like it's like what you said in the beginning. Some apartments, especially back then, they just wanted the tub to look pretty and white so they can sell it. After that, it was like a renter's problem. And then he started doing like subcontracting work, and they were using Midwest products. That's where we still use them to this day. But Midwest used to be in Chicago too. That's why it's called Midwest Chemicals. And then they moved to they're actually in Orlando now, Castleberry area. And it's part of the reason we're still with them is because it's just so fucking convenient. It's like 30 minutes away. We can go pick up our orders. They do.
Yeah, we can only have so much shipped, because it's of all the substance, so we can only have, we have to get orders, once, twice a week, because they only ship so much in a container, so.
Yeah, and
in a box.
They innovate too. They have a wipe-on primer that's saline based. It's similar to like the Crosslink, and they always are on top of things. But I just feel like they do have, and this is just true of the industry in general. A lot of the people who do this are older guys who like don't have anything else going for them, and they just are the fly-by-night kind. And I think that they're afraid to push new material like fully because they know that like a lot of their customer base are those people. And so, like, it's hard. It's hard to. It would be polarizing. Like, oh, you're telling me I don't have to use like primer anymore. There's gonna be a lot of people who don't convert anyway. So I feel like that's why they don't push things as hard. Like, it's insane to me. I said it before, but Top Coat, which is the largest manufacturer of bathtub refinishing coatings in the country, stopped selling epoxy primer as part of their regular refinishing kit. It's only for like multi-spec. So like. They're standing behind the progression of the industry, whereas like some of the legacy companies, they're just so afraid of it affecting their bottom line. And also, let's keep it real. I buy from Midwest, but think about it like this. A saline primer is one bottle, and the resin is 1-to-1. Well, they're making more money off the 1-to-1 because you have to buy 2 bottles to actually use it.
Yeah.
So it's, it's in their best interest cost-wise too. It's cheaper than it's ever been because the industry has shifted to something more, and then also, the people who are married to it are going to keep buying it, and they're buying twice the amount of product. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Is there any?
The only other thing that
go ahead.
We offer is like we do those the tub cutouts.
Oh, okay.
And that's the only thing that we do that's like in addition, like that's outside of tub refinishing. I know I post the images a lot on Instagram, but like that company, Clean Cut Bath, reached out to us probably about 15 years ago, and now we do 1 or 2 a week where we go into people's homes and cut like an access for handicap or a senior citizen, so that it kind of turns that bathtub into like a walk-in bath.
Okay.
And that business is like grown exponentially in the past like 2 years. It's crazy again. And like, we could probably do even more, but we're slammed with refinishing work, and it's like, we try to get them in, and we're doing them in some senior care facilities like that were built in the 70s. They have tubs, they don't have walk-in shower stalls, and we're just going in, and that product's awesome. It's like, I would recommend any refinisher who's already in like, going into the bathroom like that. Like, we're getting calls constantly to cut these tubs, slide this like insert over top to make it waterproof and then convert it into, a walk-in shower for $1,000, $1,200, as opposed to these people renovating an entire bathroom for $10,000 or $12,000. It's,
Wow.
it's a fraction of the price. And it's like, man, you see these, a lot of people you're really helping out by getting in there and doing that.
This happened again. Sorry about that. Uh, so the camera is overheating. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave it on here, and we'll just continue the conversation. Like with the logo screen, because I can't
Okay.
help with the situation.
Yeah. No problem, man.
But yeah, man, that's really interesting. My dad used to do those back in the day. But I guess again, it just goes back to not enough education. People didn't really know what it was, and now it's a big thing because, it's like we were talking about. Now there's a second generation of refinishers, so there's like a whole generation that's already like known that this is an option, and they probably know that these things that we do and offer are possible, and so more people are choosing refinishing. I've noticed like a big gap even in the last maybe like 4 or 5 years of just people knowing that we exist now. Education on like the process and what to expect and stuff like that, I still think that we could do better as a whole, but I do think that general education of like, hey, this is an option, has gotten a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's, I know a lot of these wholesaler, I mean, these the material providers, like I think a lot of them offer courses and classes where you can like go onto their facility and learn how to spray a tub in 3 days and that type of thing. But like, it takes a lot more than that, man. Like it really does. Like, um, you know, getting, educating these people to do good work and make them craftsmen and teach them a trade. And then, the more and more they're getting seen on site. Yeah. The more it's recognizable, that as a trade in the industry.
And so where do you want to see your business be like 5-10 years from now? What are your goals? And I guess we'll just kind of end it off there.
Okay. Yeah. So we'd like to, like, we've really grown a lot over the past 10 years. Just out of our one shop, which is located about 20 minutes from my home. And we'd love to expand regionally, whether it's another shop or I work really hard in building our brand and the Tub Teks kind of like image and brand awareness. And like, I'd love to, like, whether it's a dealership or a franchise or even just an in-house employee running another shop and like expand, regionally on like a little bit larger scale than just adding employees to our current shop and just spraying more tubs and, trying to get that number up each month or each year. I mean, that I'd like to take a little bit bigger step over the next 5 years and expand, completely expand, whether it's opening another shop or, maybe acquiring another company or, through acquisition or purchase or, we have capital and, that's kind of where my mindset is for the next few years. I'm 41 years old. So yeah, that's where I'd like to take it. I've worked hard to build the brand and like our image, and I see it expanding and, growing, throughout whether it's the tri-state area or, like I said, there's tons of work in our area and throughout Philadelphia. So, having another shop would be, is doable. It almost seems easy, but it's going to be a lot of hard work. But so that's what I envision.
That's awesome. And I'm glad that you're, trying to continue to grow. That's always, good for the industry. And I'm glad that we could have this talk. Unfortunately, stupid issues with technical difficulties. You know how it is, man.
Yeah, man. No, thank you so much for inviting me. Like I said, man, keep up the good work, man. It's great. Listening. This is really a relatively new experience to listen to a podcast that's, just for our, our industry and this business. And, yeah, I appreciate what you're doing. So thank you very much. And for having me on, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just a guy that does tubs. I'm not fit for the one man show of a production here, but I do the best that I can. So at least for like the first like episode completely, we were good, and most of this one is just a little issue with the video on my end and occasional slips over there, but it's okay.
No problem, man.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. It was very fun to talk, man. Let's exchange numbers and we'll just keep talking back and forth, and if you want tips, and I can ask you for advice on stuff, because I'm very interested in what you're doing, and we can just keep making the industry better, man, day by day.
Yeah, keep that network open. That's awesome. I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Thank you. I appreciate
Thanks,
the time.
Daniel.
Thank you. All right.
All right, man.
You just listened to the official Bathtub Refinishing podcast, powered by Bathtub Guys Refinishing. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Feel free to ask any questions or suggest topics for the next episode by following @BathTubGuys on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. And thanks for listening.